The tale starts with a young boy named Kazuya. He encounters a thug brandishing a knife, menacing a group of girls. Kazuya charges at him, knocking him to the ground, but suffers a stab wound that leads to his demise. He awakens in the form of a small boy and feels bewildered when he sees his reflection in the mirror. It becomes clear that he has been in slumber for an entire week, prompting his mother, Sarah, to check on him, believing he might be hungry. She instructs the maid, Sylvia, to bring him some soup. They leave him in his room, advising him to rest, and Kazuya understands that he has been reincarnated into a different realm. He surveys his environment, trying to grasp the nature of the world he finds himself in. Sylvia arrives with the soup, feeding him before attempting to tuck him into bed. As she answers his queries, he discovers that he is a 3-year-old boy named Cain. He is the third son of a prestigious nobleman named Garm, who commands an army dedicated to safeguarding the kingdom of Esfort from external threats. Cain feels a surge of excitement. He learns that he now resides in a world where adventurers wield swords and harness magic to vanquish monsters. Eager to master magic, he is informed by Sylvia that he must first learn to write. Thus, he begins his studies, determined to thrive in this new world. Eventually, his family is astonished to discover that he has already acquired the skills to read and write. His sister, Rain, mentions that he can even perform arithmetic, leading them to believe he is a prodigy. However, he is merely a high school student trapped in the body of a 3-year-old. They speculate about his newfound enthusiasm for learning, noting that he seems like a different person, and Cain explains that he wishes to learn everything he can about his surroundings. Garm supports his quest for knowledge, stating it will aid him in becoming a successful individual, allowing him access to books on magic and history. Sarah is pleased to see his interest in magic but believes he is too young to practice it, suggesting he should focus on studying for the time being. Cain, however, realizes that he can already utilize magic. Though he struggles to control it, he makes an effort to conceal it from those around him. Rain notices his interest in the world beyond, so she takes the time to educate him on the kingdom's 300-year history and the various races that inhabit it. 2 years pass, and the day of Cain's baptism arrives as they travel by carriage to the venue. Cain is thrilled to see the outside world, asking Rain to display her status after completing the ritual. Rain opens her status window, revealing that she can manipulate 3 types of elemental magic. Sarah discloses that Rain received a level 2 blessing from the god of magic, which is advantageous as it dictates the amount of magic required to activate a spell and influences skills as well. They explain that blessings can reach up to level 5 and are bestowed by one of the 7 pillar gods revered in their kingdom's faith. Upon arriving at the venue, they kneel before the statues of the 7 gods, and the priest begins the ceremony, beseeching the gods to guide Cain on his destined path. A brilliant light fills the area, and Cain is instantly transported to the realm of the gods. He is astonished to learn that the gods have awaited this moment, addressing him as Kazuya. The god of creation, Xenum, introduces himself as Cain contemplates his unusual appearance, but Xenum, being a deity, perceives Cain's thoughts. The god of death and rebirth, Rime, reveals that Cain's demise was unforeseen. Had he not intervened, the thug would have stumbled and been apprehended. This realization makes Cain feel sorrowful, knowing he died for no reason. However, the god of earth was touched by Cain's good deeds, leading to his reincarnation in this new realm. Rime expresses regret for Cain remembering his past life at the age of 3, yet Cain reassures her that it has been beneficial, enabling him to write and utilize magic while enjoying life with his new family. The god of magic takes a liking to Cain, granting him her blessing. Following suit, Xenum blesses him, and the god of war bestows upon him blessings alongside skills in swordsmanship and martial arts. The god of technology also offers his blessing, encouraging Cain to apply the knowledge from his past life to advance in this new world. The god of commerce grants him skills related to judgment and an item box, while the god of earth provides him with unique skills for his return. Xenum laughs as he sends Cain back, blessed by all the gods, while the priest comments that it is the first time he has seen the statue shine so brightly. Garm wishes to see Cain's status window, thinking he must have received multiple blessings, but Cain hesitates to reveal it, fearing it could lead to complications. Feigning a stomachache, he escapes to check his status window, only to be taken aback when he sees that all his magic, blessings, and skills are at level 10. Cain believed the maximum level was 5, prompting him to ponder what the gods were thinking when they endowed him with their blessings. Determined to keep this secret, he soon realizes Xenom has granted him the ability to hide his status. Later, at the dining table with his family, they discuss the brilliance of the baptism ceremony's light. Garm asks Cain about his status, and Cain reveals it, thinking he has concealed it well, but they are still astonished by the figures, particularly his magical aptitude. Even palace mages cannot compare to that number. Garm asserts that with his skills, he will thrive regardless of the profession he chooses, cautioning Cain to never disclose his status to anyone, as it may make him appear as a threat to the kingdom. Returning to his room, Cain contemplates what constitutes average stats. He discovers a book on summoning magic and decides to go outside to summon a cute creature, but instead ends up conjuring a demon. The demon begins attacking his sister, who is passing by, prompting him to retaliate with a fire spell. However, the demon grabs him, and he uses a return spell to banish it back. He collapses, unconscious, but eventually wakes to see his sister smiling, grateful for his efforts. Later, Cain is introduced to a crowd during his debut, where he proclaims his aspiration to become an adventurer and protect everyone. Garm informs him that he must continue his studies to achieve this goal, arranging for a tutor to assist him. We see him reading in his room, wondering what his tutor will be like. His tutors arrive. One of them, Millie, nervously introduces herself, while the other, Nina, gives a brief introduction. Millie chides her for being rude to nobles. However, Cain reassures them that formality is unnecessary since they are his tutors, which eases their tension. Garm expects them to train Cain for 3 years, and they promptly commence his education. At the training grounds, Millie instructs him to practice some swings, but is taken aback by his exceptional skill. Nina remarks that Cain may surpass Millie, prompting her to challenge him to a sparring match. As he prepares to leave, Gizzard detains him, informing him that he will have an audience with the king. Gizzard escorts him to the king's hall, where Cain meets the monarch. After paying his respects, the king recounts Cain's heroics in saving the carriage from the orc attack. The king praises his bravery, asserting that without him, the girls would not have survived, and bestows upon Cain the title of Baron, along with his own mansion. A noble named Corgino interjects, arguing that Cain is too young to hold such a title. The king counters that Corgino has not achieved the same feats Cain has, prompting him to back down. Reluctantly, Cain accepts the Baron title, and the king concludes the audience, instructing him to head backstage. In a private room with his father, Garm remarks that Cain is the first among his sons to achieve such a title. The king joins them, bowing to Cain in gratitude for saving his daughter. Feeling uncomfortable in this position, Cain urges them to rise, but the king insists on thanking him as a father would. He tells Cain that, given his extraordinary abilities in both magic and swordsmanship, and with the blessings of the gods, the kingdom cannot afford to neglect such a talented youth. Consequently, he proposes that Cain marry Princess Telestia, while the Duke also wishes for Cain to wed his daughter. Stunned, Cain finds the idea overwhelming, but the girls are delighted, as the king explains that he will now be engaged to both because he has shared a room with them. However, it becomes clear that this is part of their plan to ensure Cain remains in the kingdom. Under pressure, Cain eventually consents to marry both daughters. In the capital's church, he prays to the gods, seeking guidance and hoping to enter their realm once more. He inquires about his stats, and Xenom confesses that his abilities are remarkable, suggesting he may be the most powerful human alive, and asks if Cain desires to become a demigod. However, he warns Cain of the limitations he will face alone and advises him not to test those boundaries. Xenom mentions that there isn't much excitement in Cain's current life and encourages him to utilize his knowledge from the previous world to innovate. Cain contemplates introducing something that doesn't exist in this world, and Xenom supports his idea. Upon returning, Cain encounters a cat girl named Parma, who informs him that she is training at her Uncle Tamani's shop. Cain visits the shop, impressed by the diverse array of goods. He discusses his idea with Tamanis, outlining the item's details and design. Tamanis appreciates the concept and believes he can produce it affordably. Cain requests a prototype, giving him a gold coin for the materials, considering it an upfront investment. Tamanis accepts the challenge, assuring Cain of his utmost effort. After some time, Tamanis presents the prototype. Cain admires it, engaging Parma in a game to showcase its functionality. Tamanis grows excited, predicting the game will be a hit. Cain suggests creating a more elaborate version for nobles, convinced they will prefer a fancier model. He encourages Tamanis to mass-produce the product, providing him with the necessary funds. Tamanis is taken aback, bowing to Cain as he pledges to do his utmost. They take the prototype to the altar, swearing an oath to the god of commerce to fulfill their end of the agreement, causing the prototype to vanish as it is accepted. Consequently, no one will be able to create a similar product for 3 years. Cain urges them to begin selling the item next month, instructing Tamanis to prepare an extravagant one for the royal family. Afterward, he rushes home, receiving word that the debut is imminent, prompting him to hurry and get ready with his parents. Garm forewarns Cain to expect significant attention, especially after being elevated to Baron, advising him to be cautious of parents eager to introduce their daughters. Upon arrival at the venue, the royal family makes their grand entrance. The king delivers a speech about the upcoming generation. Cain approaches the king with his family, presenting the game he developed with Tamanis. The king expresses interest, wishing to discuss it with him after the ceremony. Garm, unaware of Cain's game development, is informed by Cain that he aims to find alternative income sources to maintain the mansion. His parents encourage him to engage with the other children. Cain sits with Silk, who flirts with him and begins teasing him. However, Corgino's son, Habit, interrupts. He compliments Silk, expecting her to respond in kind, but she merely greets him quietly. One of Habit's friends demands Cain show respect, leading him to introduce himself as Baron Cain. Believing he is merely a baron's son, they start to look down on him. Habit assumes Cain hails from a lowly background, threatening to have his friends beat him if he does not apologize for his perceived rudeness. However, Cain points out that it is actually Habit being impolite. They step outside, where Habit challenges him to a fight. He boasts that his friends possess God's blessings and can wield magic. The first challenger steps forward, attempting to impress with a feeble fireball that Cain effortlessly evades. The next one tries to show off but only manages to launch a few weak stone projectiles. As they prepare to attack again, Silk grows irritated and informs them that Cain is not simply the son of a baron, he is the baron himself. She recounts Cain's impressive feats, ordering them to bow, and they comply, begging for his forgiveness. As they exit the scene, Silk realizes Cain has a mischievous side, having let the situation linger for entertainment even though he knew the children were mistaken. However, she promises to keep it secret from Telestia if Cain agrees to a date with her. At that moment, Telestia arrives, inquiring about the commotion, but Silk merely claims they are planning to go on a date. Telestia grows jealous, prompting Cain to assure her he will also go on a date with her. The king interrupts, summoning Cain for their meeting, where they play the game Cain developed. The king enjoys it, wishing to keep it exclusive to them, but Cain reveals his intention to release it to the public. The Duke is present, reminding Cain to maintain the secrecy of his engagement with their daughters while cautioning him to be mindful during his date. The next day, Cain receives the deed and key to his new mansion. Upon arrival, he is dismayed to find it in a state of disrepair. As he steps inside, the lights fail to work, prompting him to use magic to illuminate his surroundings. He surveys the rooms, discovering they are filthy and devoid of furniture. Undeterred, he utilizes his magic to instantly clean and renovate the entire mansion. After his labor, the mansion looks brand new. A visitor arrives, revealing himself to be Sylvia, his maid, who is thrilled to be back in his service. Cain also meets his new butler, Colin. Sylvia eagerly directs the other maids to start cleaning, only to find everything immaculate, leading Cain to admit he used magic for the task. As he prepares to leave, Gizzard detains him, informing him that he will have an audience with the king. Gizzard escorts him to the king's hall, where Cain meets the monarch. After paying his respects, the king recounts Cain's heroics in saving the carriage from the orc attack. The king praises his bravery, asserting that without him, the girls would not have survived, and bestows upon Cain the title of Baron, along with his own mansion. A noble named Corgino interjects, arguing that Cain is too young to hold such a title. The king counters that Corgino has not achieved the same feats Cain has, prompting him to back down. Reluctantly, Cain accepts the Baron title, and the king concludes the audience, instructing him to head backstage. In a private room with his father, Garm remarks that Cain is the first among his sons to achieve such a title. The king joins them, bowing to Cain in gratitude for saving his daughter. Feeling uncomfortable in this position, Cain urges them to rise, but the king insists on thanking him as a father would. He tells Cain that, given his extraordinary abilities in both magic and swordsmanship, and with the blessings of the gods, the kingdom cannot afford to neglect such a talented youth. Consequently, he proposes that Cain marry Princess Telestia, while the Duke also wishes for Cain to wed his daughter. Stunned, Cain finds the idea overwhelming, but the girls are delighted, as the king explains that he will now be engaged to both because he has shared a room with them. However, it becomes clear that this is part of their plan to ensure Cain remains in the kingdom. Under pressure, Cain eventually consents to marry both daughters.